during that holdback period, they're going to be putting in bevy machines. They're going to be putting in smart coolers of a bigger variety. They're going to maybe put in a micro market where vending was. Those revenues all go to you. Every other one has come in higher than the agreed upon.
Oh, wow. There you go, guys. Hey guys, today is episode number 6 of the Mergers and Acquisitions show. Orrin, how you doing? And Merry Christmas.
Christmas to you. We're wrapping the year. It's hard to believe that we're ending 25 and heading into 26. This show's a little more meat and potatoes. This one might not be as fun as some of those we've done already. We'll try to do our best to make it good, but this is legalese, and that sometimes people are going to run away from it, but don't run away. It's really something that everybody needs to know.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Just reading the topic, I was like, oh man, yeah, but you got to cover this stuff. So, Orrin, real quick, roll up about what today's show is. I've got it all printed out here, ready for questions.
Yeah, we're just going to kind of hit up about, you get to paperwork, you come to an agreement, a verbal agreement, and what happens next. It's always the big thing. What does this look like? 1%, we agree, go back and forth, we come up with some terms. What happens? First thing that happens is you get a term sheet.
Yep.
We're going to work on, or some people call it an LOI. I like a term sheet a little bit better than a letter of intent, but it's a term sheet. Yeah. It's non-binding, except the only binding part really is exclusivity, and we'll go into what that really means. Yeah. And then you do your due diligence and you come to an APA, an asset purchase agreement. And that's the agreement that they take everything they learned in due diligence, they take the term sheet and they make it longer. And there's a lot of boring stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff in there. You go, why? We're going to try to talk a little bit about that. And what's the difference? Why do you need both? And how do you get to that end sale? And we're going to try to talk about it as easily as we can, but there's a lot of detail in there that just needs to be hashed out. And don't get hung up on some things and don't get hung up on others. And we're going to talk about lawyers. And so all the lawyers in the room who's listening, it's not you know what? We're not throwing darts at you. We're just trying to be common sense approach in what we're doing here.
So when you're serious and you want to step up and go through this it's probably nervous to move into this arena, but we're going to have to talk paperwork at some stage. Hey, real quick, the NDA would fall before this, right?
Yes.
And 100% of the time, are you guys signing NDAs?
Oh, yes, definitely. NDA. And an NDA, first of all, so what happens with an intermediary like myself, we sign where somebody signs to use our services for a specific period of time. Part of that is NDA. Anything they provide us, we keep in the utmost confidence, and we don't talk about it to anybody, with anybody, anything. And we take all the data. So that's the first thing, NDA and signing on. Then we go to the prospective buyer. In some cases, I have a standing NDA. Some of your ones that I work with all the time, the big three, some of the big regionals, etc. I have a standing NDA, and we're really just attaching a name to it at that point. So if somebody comes to me and says, I want to talk to you, and is it okay to go talk to InReach or Canteen or whomever, American Food and Vending, we already have NDAs in place.
Okay. Hey, before we get into talking about the specific term sheet and APA, I imagine that one of the scary things for an operator would be, okay, I'm going to go into potentially doing a deal. They're going to learn all about my locations. How does this all get protected for the operator in case they want to back out that now they've disclosed all their locations and sales, and now the other guy that potentially might have bought it is just going to hone in on those 20 good accounts.
So if you're doing it right, and this is where working with an intermediary like myself is important.
Mm-hmm.
We don't give names. We don't
Oh,
give,
good.
we'll take and I'll get an account list and I'll
Yeah.
assign every account a number.
Oh, got it.
So,
So location one, location
yeah, and
two.
there could be
Ooh,
15 locations within location one, right?
yeah,
And so
yeah,
when we provide top 20 accounts, that's part of our people always want to see top 20 or new business. What
yeah,
have you sold in the last year? What have you lost? Things like that. They always get a
yeah.
number. And then as we go through due diligence, we always refer back to that number rather than a name.
Okay, got
And
it.
then
That
and
makes
when once an
total sense.
APA gets agreed upon and we have to start attaching addendums to it and schedules to it,
Okay, okay.
those schedules will have all that information, but we're already at the APA part before that
Oh, so right
information.
all the way through the term sheet and the APA, it's still just referring to location one, location
It
two.
is. So there's no names.
Oh,
With the NDA, you're protected for a couple of years, typically 2 to 3 years, where
yeah.
they're not going to be able to talk about anything that's been discussed, such as
Hmm.
ABC company, they're doing this in revenue, this in cost of goods. They have 200 accounts. Nothing like that can be
Yeah.
discussed that they found out.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's pretty,
That's great.
if you do it right, and that's
Yeah.
where it's good going with someone who's experienced. You don't give that information out up front.
Yeah.
You wait on that
Yeah.
information till everything is rosy, so to speak.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, let's get into the first one,
Yeah. Term sheet.
the term sheet.
So term
Tell us about it.
thing that happens is I look at the term sheet as a blueprint. What are we
Hmm.
agreeing upon? We're agreeing upon price. We're agreeing about assets. We're talking locations. We're talking about holdback. What's the X amount of cents on the dollar? You own your own. Let's say in coffee, you own your own receivables. We don't take receivables. We pay you this. It'll be paid out on XYZ date, a target date. Not that it's ever going to hit the target date. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And what that holdback amount will look like. It'll talk about all of this is subject to due diligence because it is, right? Everything is subject to due diligence. We'll talk about exclusivity, which we talked about before. You won't negotiate with somebody else for 60, 90, 75, whatever days, depending on the size of the business. Sometimes due diligence takes longer. You get a $30 million sale, your due diligence is a little longer than $1 million sale, right? And it
Yeah.
varies as to who you're working with, as to how much due diligence and how fast you can get that done. But that's in there, and that says, okay, we've agreed to start dating and we're exclusive. No fooling around with
Yep.
anybody else while we're dating, right?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
through all of that, then you talk about that. You talk about the earn back, the holdback. We're gonna pay you 80%. We're gonna hold back 20%. And
Hmm.
that what's the terms of that? So we're gonna hold it back for 180 days. And how does it get paid back? Is it paid back based upon revenues during the holdback term, right? And
Okay.
multiply that out. It's the holdback is a discussion point for most. And most people say, as a seller, you're giving up control. The buyer now controls how well they do and how much of that
Yeah.
holdback. If you're
Yeah.
if you're smart and you push for that holdback being what happens if it's less than, but what happens if it's greater than,
Well then. Yeah.
right? Because a true
Yeah.
partnership, you really should have both. You talk about those pieces. The buyer isn't buying it to lose business. They're looking to build on it. And if you sell to somebody who's very aggressive, open to change, a lot of good ideas, equipment, during that holdback period, they're going to be putting in bevy machines. They're going to be putting in smart coolers of a bigger variety. They're going to maybe put in a
Yeah.
micro market where vending was. Those revenues all go to you. So you could
Yeah.
end up, everybody's always concerned about, yeah, but if they screw up, I'm going to lose 10%. This company isn't as good as me because I'm better than them. Everybody's always better than the next guy.
Oh, totally. Yep. Totally.
But
I can see
you
that.
hope that they're going to do something that's going to actually improve the sales. And they hope they're
Yeah. I'd
aggressive.
love to know, I'd love to know, and this would be difficult to find, but what percentage of people get a higher payout than what noted in the term sheet?
I can tell you that
Okay.
all the deals I've ever done, one company got paid what they were supposed to get.
Okay.
One company came in $4,000 less than the agreed upon,
That's nothing.
which is nothing in the grand
Yeah.
scheme.
It's a brand new snack machine.
It in the grand scheme, it
Yeah.
wasn't a lot, right?
Yep.
Typically, more often than not, depending who you're working with, the big companies, they're not worried about $4,000, right?
Right. Yep. Totally.
Every other one has come in higher than the agreed upon.
Oh wow. That's there you go, guys.
And
There
so
you
if you
go.
set it, and it all goes back to how do you look at your business before you sell it? Are we looking at realistic numbers? What's the run rate? Do we take, what period of time are we basing the run rate off of?
Hmm.
Time of year that affects it. Do you put in a seasonality clause so that, you close on the 15th of December and the first 2 weeks, all the businesses are shut down because of Christmas? What happens? There's a seasonality clause. You go back to prior years and things like that. Those are the things you don't get into some of those things as much in your term sheet as you do the APA, right? And in the term sheet, it's going to talk about due diligence. What are we going to need? What are we going to see? What does that look like? Right? And financial, legal, et cetera, et cetera. We can talk about where that goes, but the term sheet people get hung up on because it's the first document and they think it's the APA. It's not. It's like shaking hands.
That's a
It's
see.
not,
That's a good
it's
point.
shaking
Just
hands that we agree that if everything else comes in the way we're representing, this is this is what's gonna happen. That's all it is. And it doesn't mean you're giving away your first child, and it doesn't mean that you're celibate for the rest of your life if you don't make the deal. None of that happens. What happens is we've agreed to move forward with due diligence. We're going to be exclusive with each other. If everything works out, we're going
yep.
on to the APA and we're going to get the deal closed. That's all this
I
is.
love that. I love
Don't
that.
get hung
Hey,
up
real
on it.
quick. Yeah. What time frame does this term sheet go over? I suppose it could be all sorts of things. And then does the operator in the initial discussions sort of get a ballpark amount to go, yeah, yeah, this is definitely worth going the next step?
So before we even go to a term sheet, we've done all that. I get
Okay.
all the information, we put it together, we do an analysis, um, we come back to the operator and say, based upon, and usually we give them a ballpark number based upon the information they give us verbally, or they give us a
Yeah.
very little. Now we get detailed information and we come back and say, we told you it would be between X and Y. Unfortunately, your cost of goods, your lack of contracts, your something brings it down to X. Or we say, your cost of goods is phenomenal. The contracts aren't going to be as big of a deal. We're closer to
Okay.
Y than we are to X. They say, go for who you're going to talk to. We tell them, we go talk to. Sometimes it's one company,
Yeah.
sometimes it's 4 companies. It really depends on who's in the area, who's strongest in that market, and who's paying the
Mhm.
most in that region, whether as to who is a best target. Just throwing it
So
out there
this
to
is not a
four,
secret.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just throwing it out to 4 or 5 people to say you did, sometimes that's not always the
Right.
best use of time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly right. So my point is you're transparent
Oh, yeah.
in your dealings. It's not like, all right, you go away now and
Oh,
you
oh
work,
no. And
you
then
know.
we go to the people, to the buyers,
Yep.
whether it's
Mhm.
2 or 3, we let them work it out. We let them fight it out, duke it out. Who's going to go with the best? If it's 1 or 2, we talk to them, we negotiate. I say we, mostly me, but going into the discussions, I pretty much know what every one of those companies are looking for because I've worked with them. I know what the buckets are. I know where we can move things around to get the best deal for the seller. And when we go into those discussions, I'm 90% of the time pretty sure I know where it's going to end, where it's going to fall.
Yeah.
And then we go from there. And then I go back, and before we even do a term sheet, are you good, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, with these terms? And there's a lot more to it. Are you going to rent my building for a period of time? Do you need me for any periods of time? What are you doing with my key employees? All of that doesn't necessarily get in the term sheet, but it's all in the discussions prior to a term sheet. Then the term sheet comes through. I'm working on one right now with a term sheet that it's a pretty decent size company, and there's a few more details in it than the standard term sheet, and there's a few more approvals that have to be made, but it's good and it's solid and it's taking a little longer. A term sheet, depending upon who you're working with, it could be a month after you start discussions with us before we see a term sheet. Could be 2 weeks. I've done them. I've seen it in a week. I could give you 1 or 2 people I've worked with that within a week I've got that term sheet, and within a month we're closed. I mean, that's quick. They really know how to get it done quick.
Wow.
Again, I keep reminding people, don't let the lawyers get in the way. You need legal advice. Let them look at it. But it's an LOI. It's just a term sheet. It's not a final deal. You don't have to rewrite the United States Constitution in order to get it perfect. Do you agree with it in principle? Let's move on to due diligence.
Let's get to the next level. I like
Absolutely.
that. All
Absolutely.
right. Term sheets in place. Everyone's getting excited. One thing that I was thinking of while you were rolling this up, the seller might only be doing this one time in their life,
Yes.
whereas the buyer, they might have done 6 this year already and they've maybe done 50. So they're not as excited and they kind of roll through things, right? But that seller's like, oh my God, this is could be my only payday.
Well, that's the thing that people don't always realize. And myself as a coach through the process is managing the trip, right? The roller coaster, it's up and down and up and down. And let's try to keep this as much as on this level as we can. It's a big buyer, and most of the deals done are big buyers. They go at their own pace, they have their own legal department. They're doing 30 to 100 deals at a time. And you have to remember as a seller, you're not the only deal they're looking at if you work with a big buyer. And we know who they are, right? We've talked about them already. There's an upside and a downside. The upside to a big buyer is they have the money. They're not really going to banks to fund it. They're going to pay more. The process is longer. And typically, your APA is longer because if they're publicly traded, they have stockholders to answer to. And your APA, if you're selling to a small person or an independent, could be 25 pages, 20, 25 pages. You sell to somebody who's publicly traded, it could be 50 pages long. And some of the paragraphs don't affect you at all. zero effect whatsoever. And your lawyer's going to come back. I'm just going through this now. I won't say who. I'm going through it now. The lawyer wants to rewrite the entire agreement. And this is APA now, the asset purchase agreement, because there's paragraphs that really don't apply. Here's the thing: when I went back to the seller and said, I'm not a lawyer, trust your lawyers, get legal advice. But does it adversely affect you having it in there? Oh, no, not at all. Why are we talking about it? Why are we as worried about that? Worry about the things that adversely affect you. And let's talk about that. And we went from them having a 4-hour meeting with their lawyer and their lawyer now wanting to rewrite the whole thing, which I said, they're not going to accept it. If you want to rewrite it, they're not accepting it anyways. Running a $10,000 or $20,000 legal bill, we go through it again. There's two things in the whole agreement that they would like to see changed that they feel it might have an adverse effect. I say might, not for sure. The company agreed to make those changes. We're waiting for the APA, and they just saved themselves $20,000 in additional legal bills. And instead of closing in January, they might have closed in March. That's the difference.
That's a big deal.
That's the difference between having an intermediary and doing it on your own. Because if you're doing it on your own, you're now working for the first time with the buyer, where typically someone like myself or my competitors have worked with more than once with most of these.
Yep.
An APA.
I was just thinking too, Ron, between that January and March, you don't want to have a heart attack in the middle there worrying about all this.
And think about, you're still competing. Are you going to lose business? All it takes is one account who says, I'm in North Dakota and I'm moving to Chicago, and my $500,000 account is now gone. You're not selling that account anymore. So you do want to keep a good pace. You need legal advice. You need the accounting device. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a CPA. I've done enough of these to look for red flags, but let's not let the lawyers dictate whether or not you have a successful sale.
Love that. Don't let the lawyers screw it up, man.
That's a nicer way of saying it. I even have one that's even not as nice than that, but I won't use it on the podcast. But again, lawyers have a place. CPAs have a place. They're needed. They absolutely are there to protect you. So I don't want to make it that as derogatory as it might be coming out to be, but don't let them get in the way, and let common sense rule that if it's not having an adverse effect, we don't need to rewrite the United States Constitution.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. I love it.
So,
and boy, how long after the APA is signed?
Well, so the APA, your due diligence starts the term sheet is signed.
Right.
And that's where you provide your tax documents, your tax returns, your account list with numbers, not names, your equipment assets, all of your trucks, your benefit plans that you might have in place. All of those things we collect, and we work with the buyer in answering those questions. Again, different buyers want different things, right? And some are more concerned. If you're publicly traded, you're going to go through more hoops, but you're going to get more money. As a seller selling to a publicly traded, they have more money typically, and they're going to pay you. They're going to pay you more. It's worth the hoops with what you walk away from. The other piece is, if it's publicly traded, there's ways of putting different things into different buckets, that your tax situation, like we talked about with Jeff, your tax situation isn't going to kill you in the sale. There's different things that go through. If you wanted an easy APA and an easy term sheet, you're going to go with a smaller independent who's buying you, but they're probably not going to pay you as much, and they're going to have to go to the bank The percentage of assets have to be greater to get a bigger loan, which means you're going to pay higher taxes on the assets, which means
Good point.
now all of a sudden they're satisfied, you're unsatisfied after you get your tax bill after the sale. It's
Yeah.
how can we get you the maximum amount on the top and walk away with the maximum amount? And
Yeah.
that's people who've been through it, understand it, and know what to look for. Your asset purchase
Yeah.
agreement really, all it does is it takes your term sheet, blows it up into more legalese to cover themselves. It talks about the pricing, the adjustments, the representations and warranties, who's responsible for what, who's disclosing what. It talks about covenants. It talks about what conditions do we need to close, right? I mean, this sounds like a lot. It's pretty standard,
Yes.
and it's just
Yeah.
really a lot of common sense stuff. It talks about indemnifications. It talks about what law is going to govern it. Is it going to be the state of Delaware where we're incorporated? Is it going to be state of Illinois? Is it going to be out of Charlotte? Is it going to be North Carolina? Is it going to be Aramarks in what, Pennsylvania? Is it going to be Pennsylvania? But they might be a Delaware company. It's a Delaware. That gets into that part. And then it pretty much tells you schedules and exhibits that they need. Now, working with an intermediary like myself, we do the schedules. My team does the schedules for the seller. If you didn't have an intermediary, you're going to have to do it, or you're going to have to pay your lawyer to do it. And at $350 to $600 an hour, paying your lawyer to do it compared to paying me to do it is going to be a heck of a lot more
Yes.
money.
Yes. I love it.
But those
Hey,
are all the pieces of what goes into an APA. And it just
yeah.
takes, if your term sheet is 4 pages, if you're selling to one of the big 3 to 4 or large local regional independent, um, it's going to be 40 to 50 pages. But it's a lot of legalese. You're going to blow through a
Yeah.
lot of just non-app. What seems it's non-applicable to you, it's applicable to a publicly traded company just to put it in there. But it's not hurting
Mm-hmm.
you.
Love it. Yep. All right. Now, here's the big question. The APA is signed,
Yes.
and that wasn't too difficult between NDA, term sheet, APA. When does the money
So
arrive?
APA typically hits you a week or two, usually about 2 weeks before close. On average, 2 weeks before close. Along with other documents, your bill of sale, your vehicle assignments, your all of this paperwork they send to us, which sends to the which I go through. First of all, I go through it. And if there's some mistakes with the term sheet, I do my own red lines or I call the buyer and say, hey, you messed up on these 3 things. Let's agree to it. And I'm going to put the red line in before I send it to the seller. They say, yes, go ahead and put those in. We agree. We put the wrong number here or we put the wrong whatever. Doesn't matter. Same thing with the APA. About a week or two before close, typically 2, you're going to get it to give you time to get that agreement to your lawyer. And in some cases, they want the accountant to see it. And they say, go through this. Are we good? And then that could take a week. But by the time the the seller's lawyer looks at it, could take him a day to go through it. Now they make their suggestions. We go back. Could take the buyer a day or two to go through it. That's why you give yourself a couple of to make sure all the paperwork is done. There's still going to be some little addendums at the bottom of each couple of pages that say, based upon the due diligence, these 2 or 3 things still need to be accomplished for this to be effective. Nothing is signed, but we've agreed on the terms other than those couple of things. PPP. Everybody got PPP money. most people got PPP money. Some paid off the loans or the loans were forgiven, some weren't. They're going to put in there that it has to be paid, right? They're not going to let anybody who might have the assets tied to them, all of that has to be cleaned up. And they'll get paid out at closing typically. That's about 2 weeks before. Couple of days before, or the day before, depending upon who is doing it, they're going to get all the documents. It's either going to be a DocuSign where you just go in, you do it all online, you yes, 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 sign the documents, good to go. They get them back. Or if it's a physical signing, they send them to you, you sign, scan, send them back. Okay. That way, on close day, all it really is talking to employees, making sure everything's good, counting inventory because you get paid for inventory separate. Typically, you're counting inventory, talking to employees, you're possibly moving the product out of the building, moving it to your own space. You're going to see your large clients, depending on how it all lays out. Oh yeah, and the money's wired into your account. No
That's what
more
I'm
like in
talking
the
about.
golf, like in the tournaments with those big checks. No, those don't do it anymore. It goes
Yeah, yeah,
right
yeah,
into your account, wired right in, along with everybody else who gets paid, who's a part of whether it's vehicles that need to be paid off for the loans that you have, whether it's PPP money, whether it's
yeah,
bank loans, whether it's people like me who, believe it or not, get paid at close. And it's
yep,
all part of the process where they wire me the money. And of course, the biggest amount goes to the seller. And that's a happy
yeah.
day. And
That is a happy day. And I was there. I did this just recently when Event Central sold to Cantaloupes. Exactly what you said all happened.
yeah,
And I can't remember where I was sitting. Oh no, it was in Woodside, my favorite little town, when the money hit. A lot of us business owners have struggled. You're just trying to meet payroll every
yeah.
week and all these problems. And all of a sudden, boom, that wire hits. And it's a good feeling, man.
It's
Wow.
a great feeling. And there's much angst that goes into the final 2 to 4 weeks of this, especially the last 2 weeks. There's a lot of, am I doing the right thing? I've had this for 30 years. I have to tell my employees, how does that work? More often than not, everybody in our industry struggles to find good people, much less people, and they want your people. They want especially good people. They don't want to have to
Yep.
replace them. They're not out. It's not like a venture capitalist who's just buying it to strip it, right? It's not that.
Hmm.
These companies need good people. They're looking for good people. They want to retain your good people. And will some leave out of choice? Yes. But as an owner, you've given them an opportunity not only to succeed, but to grow, especially if it's one of the bigger companies that are buying them, because there's
Yeah.
so many
Yep.
opportunities. It's a relief. And then a week later, when they're going, what am I going to do today? It's a little different situation. But when they see their people succeed and grow and the business grows and they get it checked 6 months later, hopefully for a greater amount than they originally agreed upon,
Yeah.
it's even better.
Yep. Orrin, listen, what a cool show. Wasn't that difficult, right?
Uh,
Even though this is the technical thing, I want to leave on two notes. I follow a guy on Facebook, and I have for years. And he was a large independent, and he sold into one of the big three. I won't say who. And I am still watching him on LinkedIn actually, and he is having the time of his life. I'm watching all his commentary that he's commenting on different things, and it's like, wow, this guy is thoroughly enjoying himself. I didn't see that positivity when he was running the show. So that's one thing. And then the second thing that I love is we know we've got at least one listener listening to this show, because he called us, was it a week and a half ago, and wants to possibly look into moving his company on.
Definitely.
So we won't say who it is, but that was good. That's proof that we've got one listener.
Any other? No, we have more than that. I guarantee you, because
Yeah,
when I'm
definitely.
talking to people, they're referring to it, saying, I heard the podcast, I heard some of the
Yeah.
discussions. When I bring certain things up to them, they said, we've seen this. And that's a real positive effect.
That's
We have
positive.
people who aren't interested in selling who heard it and they're running their business. They're looking at their business differently. They're running like it's for sale
Yeah.
just because this is where we're at. I had a phone call with somebody from Michigan, and he said, "Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen those." And he said, "I really am looking at my business differently since I started watching it." He's brand new. He has
Amazing.
January of 25, he put his first piece of equipment out. He says,
Wow.
but
So he's coming out of the
he's
gates doing all
coming
these
out of the
things.
gates. But he said, but in the last 3 months, I'm doing things differently because I heard what you said. And he's hired on the right technology. He's brought in he's looking at his business differently. He's putting his processes in writing. He's doing things, Neil, that we talk about. And this is a show about merger and acquisition, but it's also a show about doing things right from day one and taking care of your folks, taking care of your clients, taking care of your business. And someday, I mean, he's not even $200,000-$300,000 probably. And he's already thinking about next employee hire. He's already thinking about what happens at 1 million or 5 million or 10 million. And we hope he gets there. We really, really do. And yeah, it's not as much fun to talk about documents, but it sure is a needed conversation as to what this looks like, because some people are concerned about, is it time to sell? How hard is it to sell? What do I do when we sell? This, I hope, takes a little bit of that thought angst out of the equation so they can say, okay, I see this. It's not as troubling or concerning as it might be if you don't know it. So.
Yep. I love it. All right, Orrin, episode number 6 is in the bag. I appreciate it.
Let's go.
Have a great holiday season. I'm not going to see you for a minute.
Yes.
But thank you for putting this together. Honestly, I think you just wrapped up. People, this is good stuff. Any leadership video that you watch, it always says surround yourself by good people. You and I, between the two of us, have been in this industry over 100 years, and all we want to see is positivity.
And I think we are. I don't have to think about it. I know we're providing it. I know we're providing good thought. We're also challenging people to think a different way. Our industry's going that way. It's really doing a great job. Yep. Have a great holiday. I'm looking forward to our next one early in 26. I've already got a couple of thoughts, and we'll get right back at it. We might have to go longer than 12, Neil.
We might have to, and let's get another couple of guests in here too. I've got a couple of guests lined up because
sounds good.
Sharing real life stuff is awesome too.
Good stuff. Have a good one. Take care.
Thanks, Orrin.